Well, this is awkward. You're 100 feet underwater in zero visibility. You can't see your own hands. Somewhere nearby, there's a pressurized welding arc hot enough to melt steel, and the only thing between you and a lot of different ways to die is your training and your equipment. When you surface in 6 hours, you'll have earned more than most people make in a week. That's if you surface at all. Today we're talking about what it takes to become an underwater welder. Let's get the basic path out of the way. You can't just decide to become an underwater welder. You need two separate skill sets: commercial diving and welding. Most people get the welding first. You'll want welding certifications before you even think about going underwater. That means trade school or a welding program, usually 6 months to 2 years, depending on how deep you go. You'll learn stick welding, MIG, TIG, and flux cord welding. Get comfortable with all of them, because you'll need to pass certifications, and the more certs you have, the more employable you are. Some guys skip formal welding school and learn on the job, but that's a harder path into commercial diving. Most dive schools want to see welding credentials before they'll teach you to do it underwater. Once you've got welding down, you need commercial dive training. This isn't recreational scuba. Forget everything you know about diving vacations in the Caribbean. Commercial diving is an industrial job that happens to take place underwater. Commercial dive programs run 5 to 7 months and cost anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000. You'll learn surface-supplied diving, which means you're connected to the surface by an umbilical that gives you air, communication, and sometimes hot water to keep you warm. You'll learn decompression procedures, underwater cutting, rigging, inspection, and yes, welding. You'll also learn what happens to the human body under pressure. It's not pretty. Nitrogen builds up in your blood. Ascend too fast and it forms bubbles. That's decompression sickness, commonly called the bends. It can paralyze you or kill you. Severe cases require treatment in a hyperbaric chamber, and not every job site has one nearby. Still here? Good. Let's talk about what the job actually pays, since that's probably what caught your attention. The numbers you see online are technically true, but wildly misleading. Yes, underwater welders can make $100,000 to $200,000 a year. Some make more, but that's not the typical first-year experience. Entry-level divers, often called tenders, start at $30,000 to $50,000. You're not welding yet. You're hauling equipment, tending umbilicals, running the deck, and learning how operations work. You might do this for a year or two before you're trusted with actual underwater welding jobs. Once you're diving and welding, pay jumps. Offshore work pays the most. $50,000 to $100,000 is realistic for experienced divers, and the top earners working deep saturation jobs can clear $200,000 or more. But those jobs are brutal, and we'll get to that. Pay is often structured by depth. The deeper you go, the more you make. Surface-level work pays less than jobs at 100 feet, which pay less than saturation diving at 500 feet or more. Risk scales with reward. You're also not working year-round. Offshore work is seasonal and project-based. You might work 60 or 90 days straight, then have nothing for a month. Weather delays kill projects. Contracts end. You're constantly hustling for the next job. Inland work, bridges, dams, pipelines, municipal infrastructure is steadier but pays less. You're not making saturation money repairing a sewage intake valve, but you're also not living on a barge in the Gulf of Mexico for weeks at a time. So what does the actual work look like? There are two main types of underwater welding: wet welding and dry welding. Wet welding is exactly what it sounds like. You're in the water, welding steel while submerged. It's faster to set up and cheaper for the client, so it gets used for repairs and jobs where perfect welds aren't critical. The welds are weaker because water cools the metal too fast, causing hydrogen embrittlement and porosity. It's good enough for many applications, but no one's using wet welds on anything structural that really matters. Dry welding, also called hyperbaric welding, happens inside a sealed chamber that gets lowered around the work area and filled with a gas mixture. You're still underwater, but the welding itself happens in a dry environment. The welds are much stronger, nearly as good as surface welds. This is what you use on oil rigs, pipelines, and anything where weld integrity is critical. Dry welding pays more because it's more technical and the stakes are higher. It's also harder on your body for reasons we'll get to. A typical day on an offshore job starts early. You might be diving at dawn because conditions are calmest in the morning. You're gearing up with your dive team, running equipment checks, going over the dive plan with your supervisor. Then you're in the water. Depending on depth, you might be down there for an hour or 8 hours. You're welding, cutting, inspecting, rigging, whatever the job requires. You're communicating with topside through your helmet comms. If something goes wrong, your team needs to know immediately. When you surface, you're not done. There's gear to clean, reports to file, equipment to maintain. And if you're doing saturation diving, you're not surfacing at all. You're living in a pressurized chamber on the ship for weeks at a time, so your body stays acclimated to depth. More on that in a minute. Let's talk about what this job does to your body. The pressure changes alone are hard on you. Your joints ache, your ears take a beating. Sinus problems are constant. Every time you descend and ascend, your body is adjusting to pressure shifts that it wasn't designed for. Decompression sickness is always a risk. Follow the tables exactly and you're usually fine. Rush it because the project is behind schedule, or because you made a mistake and you're gambling with your nervous system. Saturation diving, where you live under pressure for days or weeks, is its own beast. You're breathing a helium-oxygen mix that makes your voice sound like a cartoon character. The pressure affects your cognition and motor skills. You're in a tiny chamber with a few other divers, eating, sleeping, and existing at pressure until the job is done. Decompression at the end takes days. It's mentally exhausting. Then there are the acute dangers. Hypothermia in cold water, drowning if equipment fails, electrocution from the welding arc, delta P, differential pressure situations where water rushing through a pipe or opening can pin you against something and kill you, explosions if you're welding on a pipeline that wasn't properly purged. The fatality rate for commercial diving is significantly higher than most construction jobs. Estimates vary, but it's somewhere around 40 times more dangerous than the average job. Water welding specifically is on the riskier end of commercial diving. Your career might also be shorter than you planned. The physical demands limit how long most people can do this work. Joints wear out, hearing damage accumulates. Some guys dive well into their 50s, but plenty burn out or get injured in their 30s and 40s. Planning an exit strategy isn't pessimism, it's realistic. The lifestyle isn't for everyone either. Offshore work means weeks or months away from home. You're living on a boat or a platform. You might have decent accommodations on a big rig, or you might be crammed into a bunk on a small dive vessel. Either way, you're isolated. No running to the store, no seeing family. Limited communication depending on where you are. Relationships suffer, marriages end, you miss birthdays and holidays. The money's good, but you're trading time for it in a very literal way. Even onshore work has its challenges. You're often traveling to wherever the job is. Pipelines don't get repaired in convenient locations. You might spend 3 weeks in rural Louisiana, then a month in Alaska, then 2 weeks home before the next project. So why does anyone do this? The money is real. If you're willing to do the hard work and take the risks, you can out-earn most people your age without a college degree. A 25-year-old clearing $100,000 with no student debt is doing better than a lot of people with fancy diplomas. The work is genuinely interesting. You're solving problems in one of the most hostile environments on Earth. Every job is different. You're working with your hands, using real skills, and the stakes are high enough that it never gets boring. There's a pride that comes with doing something most people can't. Not everyone has what it takes physically, mentally, or skill-wise. The guys who do this work tend to be a certain type. Capable, calm under pressure, good at thinking through problems when everything's going sideways. And there's a community. Commercial divers are a tight group. Everyone knows someone who knows someone. You build a reputation over time, and if you're good, people want to work with you. That network can carry you through your career. Some divers use the money to fund other goals. Work hard for 10 years, save aggressively, and you can retire early or transition into something less demanding. Become a dive supervisor. Move into inspection work. Start a business. The skills translate. So what does it actually take to become an underwater welder? First, the credentials. welding certifications, commercial dive school, and likely a few years working your way up from tender to diver to welder. Plan on 2 to 4 years before you're doing the real work. Then, the right temperament. You need to stay calm when visibility goes to zero and something's not working right. You need to trust your training and your team. You can't panic, because panic underwater can get you killed. Physical fitness matters. Not bodybuilder fitness, but functional strength, endurance, and cardiovascular health. You're working hard in uncomfortable conditions for hours at a time, and you need to understand the trade-off clearly. You're exchanging risk, discomfort, and time away from normal life for money and a career most people can't handle. If that sounds like a good deal to you, it can work out well. If any part of you is unsure, it'll catch up to you eventually. That's what it takes. If this sounds like your kind of work, start looking into dive schools and welding programs. If not, click one of the videos on screen and see if something else fits better.